Authentic. Connected. Structured. Authentic. Connected.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Chubahusky, and this is Align Health Insights episode number 13, lucky 13, with my dear friend and colleague, Anthony Manson, Chief Digital Officer of Healio. Anthony, man, it's been a while since we've chatted, but I've known you for over 20 years. How are you doing, man?
Doing great. Enjoying the AI world we live in today, and it's been exciting.
I know the pace of change is definitely breakneck, and I believe that we are early innings here. And spring has sprung, so I am grateful for the warmer weather. So look, Anthony, just quick introduction for the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Healio and what core problems you're trying to solve for busy healthcare professionals.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I've been in this business for about 25 years, really focused on healthcare, media, and marketing. How do we help improve outcomes, help patients, and help physicians? And I was excited to join Healio about 2 years ago now. Time flies. And my mission at Healio is really to focus on how to develop innovative new products that really improves, clinicians' ability to manage their patients and improve outcomes. So we launched Healio AI about a year ago, and it's exciting. It's a new clinical intelligence tool that allows physicians to get immediate answers from a trustworthy sources, emphasizing trust, which is critical today. And physicians want credibility, they want accuracy, and they want trust. It's not just about saving time, as much as that is important when they only get 5 minutes with the patients. So our focus has really been to work with physician advisory boards to learn kind of what their needs are and what makes AI successful for them. So that's been our mission over the past years, developing that. And of course, trying to find ways that we can improve patient care. And also we've been working with some pharmaceutical companies because they have a lot of information that also is needed by physicians, as you know, given how many prescriptions they write a day, and how many, prescription errors there are. So we're really focusing on how do we integrate that drug information into the right place at the right time for prescribers.
Right. So look, we're going to talk more about Healio. We're obviously, just given my platform as an executive search professional, really focused a lot on AI. We're going to talk a lot about AI today. But at the end of the day, Anthony, I know you well, and I know what you stand for. And I think we really, as a foundation, should just really set the tone on your beliefs, my beliefs also, and our passion around patient-centered care and patient centricity. At the end of the day, this is really all about people. Give us some thoughts here, please.
Sure. I think, it's, we've always had challenges within the health system to really improve access so that everybody has access to quality health care in America. Cost is always going to be an issue, has been an issue, continues to be an issue. People are, number one cause of bankruptcy in America is medical debt. So, that is just tragic that people have to forego, just basic medication and care to basically, because they can't afford it. So, we really have two worlds of healthcare in America, the haves and have-nots. And it shouldn't have to be that way. There are clinics, and certainly there are committed, physicians, and I applaud them in terms of what they're able to do pro bono and on the side to really offer that care to people that can't get it. So I think that's important. But patients also, I think, with AI, getting back to AI, of course, I think AI can do things for patients and caregivers to be able to allow them to get the information they need to manage their care more effectively. And I think, I love we need courses to teach them how to do prompts in AI, Gen AI, to basically say, what are the 5 questions I should ask my physician? I have an appointment coming up next week, and I have had diabetes, and I just had, I just lost 30 pounds, and now what should I ask him or her? So,
Yeah.
you get 5 minutes with a doctor. How do you make sure those 5 minutes are really valuable and you're getting the right information that you need from him or her? And that's going to allow you to better manage your chronic condition.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are doing that today. So
Yep.
I think it is a positive trend today that you're using ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter in my mind what they use. Whatever they're using to get that information, I think gives them more empowerment, basically, to manage their care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, maybe not going to recite the numbers exactly correctly, but I saw Wendell Potter speak late last year, and I think that the average American family is like $27,000 a year for health insurance. But then you add the max out of pocket deductible, it's somewhere around $54,000, which is dramatically up from 2011 when the Affordable Care Act started. And this is largely because of the high deductible plans and the rationing of prior authorization. That's a starting point. Medicare is getting crushed, right? Which is another thing. And then the ACA plans last year, I think we're on the average of about a 26 to 28% increase because of the tax credits that have expired to defray the cost of those plans. So certainly, we are definitely in a period of time where things are not getting any cheaper. As a matter of fact, they're the data showing that they're getting far more expensive, right? And then the other thing, that I'll say is that it's just really interesting when we think about things like digital front doors and who is going to really end up cracking the code on patient engagement. Well, I was just sitting there with my mom the other day over the Easter holiday, and she's telling me how she's querying ChatGPT about GLP-1s. So I think it is the time. I think we're really at a new frontier where maybe someone's going to crack the code on patient engagement, Anthony.
I really hope so. I mean, I think it will make a difference. As much as physicians need help in augmenting their performance with AI, and I think a lot of I think the numbers are 70% of physicians now are using some type of AI system to basically practice medicine. And I think, they're early adopters, of course, and there'll be late adopters of those tools. Um, but we can do for physicians to, obviously, like prior authorization letters they're being used all the time. Getting clinical answers when you need them, is going to make a big difference. And Helio AI, what's amazing about it is it really looks for the intent. It's not just what they type in, what the prompt is. It's
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for what they're really looking for. And that's where, the large language model really does its job, which is really matching that intent with what information they need. And there again, what we've done at Healing AI, we're not just, it's not just, we're not searching the web for answers. It's a
yeah.
closed system where we have imported all of PubMed, clinicaltrials.gov. Plus we have probably 30 new articles a day. So we cover
Wow.
140 conferences. So we're totally up to date. So, as a doctor, you want the latest information. You don't want something from a month ago. Some of the other systems out there today, Gen AI, you can be getting something 3 or 4 months old. Those guidelines can be out of date.
Oh yeah.
So I think one of the unique things that we've done at Healing UI is having that, really rapid, you know, content that's going to be important to you right now, today, not yesterday. And
Super
that's trust,
important.
right? We're a 125-year-old company. We've been
Wow.
doing this, we're new to AI, but we're not new to, producing timely content for physicians and clinicians. And, I think it's a great story of evolution. Here's a 125-year-old company that's leveraging AI to meet the needs of today's physicians. And I think that's a great story. And I think you're going to see a lot of companies today. There are companies that won't make it. They won't be able to adapt
Yeah.
fast enough. And I'm sure you're talking to some of those companies. And then
Yep.
you have all the newcomers, right? You have all the startups. I mean, I was amazed at the number I saw yesterday. I believe in first quarter of 2026, it was a historic record for venture capital. I think
Yep.
over $300 billion was invested in startups. Not all of them AI, but I bet you probably three-quarters of them were AI companies. So I
Yep.
think not all of them will make it. I'm sure we've seen it before. Half of them will probably, fail. But out of those, there probably will be the next Google, the next, um, there will be some major mega companies coming out of there, which is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, we are really from where we sit and doing search, seeing some really interesting and cool young companies. I think look, Travis May, I think I've said this before, but he from Shaper Capital said that there's 151 automation use cases across healthcare and life sciences. A lot of the use cases that are getting pulled from the market are largely operational in nature. Uh, I think there's going to be some maybe 3 to 4 likely probabilistic outcomes for these companies. Like there's going to be a very slim 1% that file an S1.
Right.
There's going to be this other percentage of companies that are going to do really well and command a large multiple on exit because of the pull from the use case and then meeting the execution risk and getting the growth rounds that they need. But the most likely is probably going to be the 3 to 4x multiple roll up. And then, like you said, the fourth is going to be they're not going to make it, unfortunately. So, look, how has your perspective on healthcare changed since you first entered this space, especially post pandemic with the AI boom that we're seeing in 2026?
Right. Well, yeah, I think, looking back in the rearview mirror, during the
Yes.
pandemic, I think there was obviously some terrible things that happened.
Yep.
Um, but certainly I think it did force us to look at technology as a way to increase efficiency and more or communication. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at telehealth, right? I mean, telehealth,
Totally. Yeah.
no one believed in telehealth before the pandemic.
Since it was around since the 1970s. So
Yeah, exactly. So, so now all of a sudden you can telehealth into major ERs across the country and get immediate help. So you could be lying there with a concussion on your cell phone and you can immediately get an ER doctor on the phone. How amazing is that? I mean,
amazing.
so I think that is huge advancement and enhancement. I mean, pandemic, no question about it. Horrible, disrupted everybody's lives. Um, but it definitely, shined the spotlight on some technology that could probably make a difference and save lives. I think the other thing is, just the way we collaborate, just like we're doing today. I mean, the 10 Zoom calls I'm on every single day. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
the virtual collaboration. We used to have phone calls, if you remember the speaker boxes and the tables.
Vaguely. Yeah. Yeah.
Vaguely, yeah. I mean, those were always not the easiest thing to do. But being able to see somebody, get some body language, it's not the same as in person. People argue. But as far as I'm concerned, it is a productive environment, productive tool to work together. We're seeing doctors today. I was talking to a doctor who I used to work with, and he's at a major cancer center. And they do, I'm sure you've heard of e-tumor boards,
Oh
where
yeah.
they get multidisciplinary, oncology team members around the world,
Yeah.
basically looking at a case together and saying, what are we missing? Why is
Yep.
this patient not improving? So, I mean, an e-tumor board, I think, is a great
Yeah.
example of how, you know, we're leveraging technology for
Yeah.
improving outcomes in cancer.
I, just with that, I might add even also opportunities for a second opinion generation, right? Which is really cool. Yeah, what's interesting though about the telehealth thing, right? As much as we talk about technology, it just really emphasizes the fact that the majority of what changes in healthcare is largely regulated around policy, right? Because so much of that telehealth stuff was so held up in state by state policy to see if they were going to
Right.
allow those things to extend beyond COVID, which largely they have, which thank goodness, right? Okay, so how are you thinking about product market fit in 2026, especially when so many health tech solutions feel good enough, right? But they're not exactly transformative.
No, I agree. And then the use cases are very narrow, I think, in a lot of cases, like a scribe. They're
Yeah.
doing one thing well. Um, but we just saw in the last 2 weeks, right? I mean, OpenAI announced their health initiative. Microsoft, Copilot just announced their major health effort. Who am I missing, Mark? There were like two other major
Anthropic.
companies, Anthropic. So
Yeah.
now we have, half a dozen other top leading, tech AI companies who have announced health as one of the priority markets going forward. So, the optimistic side of me says, that's fantastic. And that could be transformational by them applying their resources and their knowledge and their technologies to the healthcare marketplace. Could that help with interoperability issues in EHRs that we've suffered from for a long time? Will that bring new tools to patients that patients don't have today? Everybody uses Microsoft, for
Hmm.
better or for worse. So there is a universal adoption of that platform. Will that make a difference having a health co-pilot at your fingertips on your phone, on your desktop? So the optimistic side of me says, hey, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, the realist that I am
Yeah.
says, well, okay, Microsoft, they put their profits first, right?
Yep.
They have licensing. I mean, they want their money. So
Yep.
are there going to be barriers for patients and say, oh, okay, great. You can only use, 2 hours of Copilot Health in a week,
Oh yeah.
So,
My God. I know.
so I mean, we could be in the same place with access being limited because of,
Yeah.
of cost.
Sorry you burned all your healthcare tokens for the week,
Exactly. Right.
right?
So sorry,
Yeah.
you can't ask one more question. So, I mean, we have the same barriers, I think, you know, um, but clinicians, I think they're again. I mean, it's I saw a fantastic digital AI stethoscope
Yeah.
2 months ago by a company called Lapsy Health that
Okay.
has a stethoscope called K2. Hard to say, but it looks like a little Star Trek type of a device.
Neat.
It's like this smaller than a hockey puck, and you basically talk about telehealth. A patient could use it remotely. You put it on your heart; it could listen to your lung sounds. Obviously, it's going to measure your heart rhythms, and if you have AFib, it's going to identify it in seconds using AI,
Wow.
and you'll be able to transmit it to a cardiologist to be able to read it. Um, so I mean, I think that's just one example of a diagnostic AI tool. It's got 10 patents already on it. Um, you know, it's just amazing. So, I mean, that's just one AI product that's coming out, that's already out. I think he sold thousands of them already, um, which is fantastic. But I mean, I think that's where I do get optimistic and I get excited because how many people can't get to the doctor, right? Who are homebound, don't have the access they need, but you still want someone to listen to their heart rhythm. You can't send a nurse out
Yep.
there, and now you have KQ AI stethoscope.
So, following that like trend line, right? When we talk about AI in healthcare, like hype versus reality, right? Where do you see AI making the biggest clinical impact in the next 12 to 18 months? We just talked a little bit about a diagnostic here. Is it that? Is it predictive analytics? Is it personalized treatment or is it something else?
I think it's a combination of those things.
Yeah.
Part of it is I think you're going to see, and I think it is a shift from acute care to preventative care. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in this country, where we have a system that's really built for acute care. So when it comes to preventing diabetes and preventing heart disease, we don't do a great job. You could say it's diet and exercise, but there's other factors too, hereditary.
Oh yeah.
There's multiple factors, and if you could say, okay, with AI could process data how fast? I mean, how incredible it could crunch data. So if you had all these patient records and you said, okay, tell me who requires the most care, who should we focus on to prevent future negative outcomes? Who's at most risk for a heart attack? Who's at most risk for diabetes? We know what pre-diabetes is. We know the factors. We know what data points are needed. Um, I think that to me would be the biggest impact on outcomes. Not necessarily cost, but definitely keeping people alive longer. Um, I think that's one important area. But I mean, I think you're going to see, as you said, diagnostics, personalizing treatment. I definitely think you're going to see that in pharmaceuticals, where you have medicines that are basically personalized based on your your genetics and your data, your personalized data.
I agree. I mean, like, look, if one good use case when we just think about cardiovascular disease, right? And you just start thinking about not even new technologies, like 5-year-old plus technologies like HeartFlow with FFR. right? And so they'll be able to do these like, really advanced calcium scoring tests, right? And then even like matching that to advanced biomarker testing, which who the heck was getting their ApoB and LP little a checked, right? And then you look at the pharmaceutical and you've got like all these PCSK9 inhibitors that
Right.
quite frankly would not be able to, at least 5 years ago, get on or achieve tier one formulary status. But now, there's a lot of people that are taking these Repathas of the world, right? And they're significantly lowering their LPA little a, and they're getting ahead of, this really bad calcium score and potentially, preventing atherosclerosis, right? So, you look at that and you look at that condition upon condition, all of the research coming out, all this personalized medicine, and the opportunity with, and again, and then it brings up the whole infrastructure around diagnostics and reimbursement, who's getting these tests. But you're
Right.
right. I think it's a comprehensive 360 because they're all kind of interconnected.
They are, and I think the whole foundational longevity medicine that's obviously
Yeah.
everybody sees as a huge marketing opportunity. And is there does that mean more expensive stuff, more expensive tests? Will insurance cover it? Who knows? But there again, from just a rich data set in terms of being able to use AI to basically leverage that and identify who's at risk, who needs these personalized medicines. Um, Rare disease is hard to diagnose, correct? I mean, we've
Yes.
known that for years. I mean, it could take years on average to identify a rare disease. I mean,
Terrifying.
I was meeting with Nord like a couple of years ago, and I was just
Yeah.
staggered by the challenges that doctors have in diagnosing rare disease. So, and I really think AI could accelerate that time to diagnosis and obviously time to treatment, and that'll make a
Yeah.
huge difference in people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like once there's, enough evidence, like I think like if we just look at the obvious GLP-1, right? They're starting to offer discounted rates for GLP-1 candidates through Medicare right now, right? So maybe there's hope.
I hope so, but I still think there's going to be hurdles. I mean, the regulatory environment. We have a hodgepodge of regulatory groups that affect you today, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not just the FDA. You have state, local. We have no centralized regulatory group, not like Europe.eu does. So, I mean, there are going to be a lot of unknowns for companies in terms of being able to do what they want to do. And
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, liability court cases. I do anticipate that there will be some legal, um, you know, marathons in terms of getting some of these things approved and working.
Yeah. Look, I'm no policy expert, but you think about things like max fair pricing. You think about things like the 1/5 of the American GDP that the healthcare economy is, which is approximately what, like, going to be like 6 trillion by 2030. Which the majority of that is the jumbo employer that's paying for that care, and then the remainder which would probably be like a little north of 1 trillion at 2030 is the government, and they're
Right.
looking at all of this pipe, that's coming down. This is why CMS and pharma are fighting in the courts over max fair pricing. And they're going, we can't afford this. The price of these drugs have to come down. Right. So I think all these major stakeholders, are going to be feeling a lot of regulatory pain in the short term. But, these catharsis kind of need to happen in order to invoke change. But yes, I think there's still going to be a lot of pain to come. Okay. So look, AI governance and regulation are heating up in 2026. Here we go. More regulatory questions. Are we moving fast enough? Or is the industry still playing catch up on safety, bias, ethics, things like that?
My point of view is that I think we're moving incredibly fast. Okay. I mean, you just look at how fast we've come
I think
from a
so
Gen
too.
AI. We were Gen AI and chatbots, and now we're talking about OpenClaw and Gen AI. And
Open clause wild.
I'm saying, so we're in this agentic world today, and how fast we moved into that today. I mean, you can go to
Yeah.
OpenClaw and you can see agents talking to agents. Okay. You could literally build an agent to book to not just find your next itinerary for your
Do the whole
next
thing.
vacation, it'll book it. And it'll
Yeah.
tell your entire family, here's your tickets and here's where here's where we're meeting. So I think we moved incredibly fast and we are moving fast. I think keeping up is just a challenge for all of us. I think businesses, if you look at the SaaS model company today, that's now looking at like, oh my God, what do we do? We've been charging licensing fees and seats for decades.
Oh yeah,
And now companies can literally build their own agentic tools, agents overnight. Um,
it's
so
wild.
I think we're moving maybe too fast. I love it because it's the wild, wild west, and I really do have an adrenaline rush off of that type of stuff. Um, but I think there again, safety, accuracy, testing takes time. Even if you have a AI tool testing your platform, you still need, especially in healthcare, you still need clinicians to test it and make
Yeah,
sure that it makes sense. You still need that human involved somewhere along that workflow. And my concern is that's not happening because profit
right.
matters. To your point, speed to market. Speed to market's always been important. We know that. The sooner you get out, and the sooner you start making money and you positive
Yeah,
ROI. So I think we are moving too quick, and a lot of the clinicians are very concerned about that, and saying
yeah.
how do we know that these things have been tested, and that is keeping me up at night and it's keeping a lot of people up at night.
Well, it's a highly regulated environment, and when it comes to people's lives, if something bad happens, there will be lawsuits. That is for darn sure. And more on the business end, but just a question that came up in my mind as you were talking about this evolution beyond SaaS, right? We saw a ton of market cap get sucked out of the SaaS market from a private equity standpoint about a couple months ago. Is SaaS dead?
No, I don't think SaaS is dead. I don't think so. I think there again, you're talking about evolution. They're going to have to evolve their model. Their pricing models,
Yeah.
their business model has to change. So, the pricing model has to change. So I think you'll see more, rapid evolution from SaaS companies. Will Salesforce go away? I mean, companies that's embedded in companies today, replacing that overnight could be incredibly painful. I've been through major migrations on,
Oh yeah.
on major CRM systems, and it is so painful. Um,
It's supposed to be. It's really bad.
it's painful for the tech people, painful for the entire company. So I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think there is evolution, and I think there will be some new companies coming out of left field. I
Yeah.
remember speaking to, this was back in, the early days of the web, not to date myself, but I mean, I was at a venture capital meeting, and somebody was asking him, like, where do you think the next Google's going to come from? And I said, oh, it's gonna, he said, basically, don't look for, look for the butterfly out in left field. That's the company you want to invest in. You don't want to look at the one that's on first base,
Mm,
which I thought was
very
a
interesting.
great analogy in
It
terms of
really,
where the next major company's coming from.
you just
It's
don't
not the
know.
one that's on. It's not the one that's on in the Wall Street Journal or on the cover of your website today.
Yeah. Wow. That is really interesting. Yeah. You just never see them coming, huh?
Nope.
Uh,
Nope.
we're hearing a lot about AI agents. You just talked about AI agents, these ones that can act autonomously in workflows like OpenClaw, right? And of course, we're probably going to get more non-open source productized versions of this in the near future, right? I think Perplexity Computer. There's others that are probably going to be coming out. OpenAI just bought OpenClaw, for goodness sake. So where do you
Right.
draw the line between helpful automation and this feels like it's going too far?
I think that's a personal case by case situation.
Uh,
What I feel comfortable with and what you feel comfortable with, I think are going to be two different things.
yeah.
And I think it depends. I think it depends on I mean, I have a separate computer now and separate accounts to do to let my agents roam around. So
Oh, so you've
I've
got a
tried to
MacBook.
create.
You've got a MacBook Mini.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it's a fire. I think of it as a firewall. I mean, how safe is
Yeah.
it? I don't know. I mean, but I've tried to wall it off, but I don't really know if that's 100% guarantee that agent isn't going to get into another system that I don't want it to get into.
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, I think everybody's, I think we have to experiment, all of us. I don't think we can just
Yeah.
say, oh my God, I can't touch that. It's going to create havoc in my world. I think we have to try to adopt these tools, and I think we have to learn from them. I think we have to share our best practices with each other. And I know, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on boards every day where people are trading, their best practices. But I think that's the way we're all going to learn and come out in a better place. But there again, only fools predict the future, right? So.
Yeah, well, I am plugged for Brett Jansen, taking Brett Jansen's AI seminar, 6 sessions starting tomorrow. So I'm excited to see how AI is going to positively impact my business, and I will keep you posted on seeing what I learn. Okay, so look, we'll talk a little bit and we'll get some ideas on what your future outlook here is, and you can define future outlook any way you'd like, and then we'll get some closing thoughts. So a book, a podcast, or a person outside of healthcare that surprisingly influenced how you think about innovation in this space?
Um, Let me think. I go back to the book that's probably impacted the way I live my life more than any other book, which is The Alchemist. I don't know. I'm sure you've read it.
Oh, I read that. Yeah, that's just that. Is
Yeah.
it Paulo? Is that Paulo Coelho?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I did
That's
read
it.
that. I love
It's a
that book.
classic. It's a classic. It's all about chasing your dreams, right?
Yeah,
But it's really more than that. It's about living a spiritual life, every single day and kind of never giving up. And I
yeah,
think there's important lessons in that book that applies to, not just your personal life, but your business life too, which is, I think there's one quote in there, which is like, you'll know you succeeded after you failed 7 times on the 8th time,
How true is that?
So I think we all get knocked down either in our personal lives or our business life. And that's fine. It's we get back up
Yeah,
and you get back out there and you do it again. And that's resiliency, which I think is, I worry about our younger generations today and say, dude, are they resilient enough to be able to, get back up? And that book really, I think, teaches you, how to stay in touch with your inner being, and have that resiliency. So that's the book that I always go back to.
I really love that. I love that book, dude. I love that book. That was a good one, and I really, really like what you have to say. I really believe that I'm completely aligned there with you. We're always getting knocked down, but on that 8th time, when you do succeed, it's almost addictive. It makes you want to come back and fail another 7 times so you can get that next victory.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
last question.
Okay.
If I could wave a magic wand and fix one broken part of the U.S. healthcare system right now, or if you could do it, what would it be, and how would health tech make it happen?
Um, I read a statistic the other day that I never really saw quantified, which was basically the number of fatalities due to medical errors.
Oh
And
my
it is
goodness.
the fifth leading cause of death in America is
Oh my
medical
goodness.
error. So, my wife's an EMT. So she's,
Your wife?
basically, yes,
No kidding.
she's transporting, telling me stories about her transport of the day, of course, and then dropping them off at the ER. And then she never really, a lot of times she doesn't know what happened, the outcome was, right? She drops them off, puts them in the ER, and she prays, it's fingers crossed that they're fine. But the fact that it's the 5th leading cause of death, potentially you could avoid, if you avoided 50% of those errors, whether that's a prescription error or whether that's just a misdiagnosis, it could be anything, right? I mean, can AI help catch, backstop? I was watching a baseball game yesterday and they have now the challenge that says, was this a ball or a strike? Is there a way you could, after the doctor makes a decision, can there be an
Yeah,
AI backstop that
like a
says,
review.
review exactly,
Yeah. Time
so
out.
but it sounds like science fiction, but I don't think it is. I think we're on that path to having a system in hospitals, in surgeries, where some of that could be caught before you have a fatality.
Yeah, I've never been married, but I'm getting married in August to a nurse
Congratulations.
who works at a large
Mark's
academic
getting
medical.
married.
Mark's getting married to a nurse who works at a large academic medical center, and I hear the stories. But I mean, you just take it back to your 5 minutes per patient encounter, right? You're looking at these consolidated health systems that are increasingly consolidating upon themselves, closing some, keeping the profitable ones. But what it's doing, it's driving up higher patient volume. I wonder if these 5 minute encounters are going to stay at 5 minutes, right? And so, what is these doctors are very smart. They're overworked, right? And so it's just a matter of time where there's going to be things that are going to be missed in these patient encounters, right?
Yeah, that's what's happening today, I think, and it's not,
Yeah,
and to your point, I think our healthcare professionals are excellent. They're smart. They
excellent,
work really hard. I
and they
have
care.
tremendous respect for them. They care. I've been interviewing them for 25 years now for my job.
Yeah,
I've been going to their meetings. I mean, they're fantastic, but they can't be perfect. They can't do everything they need to do within a day. And I think if AI can help alleviate some of that stress and give them a little bit of time back, I think that'd be great.
yeah. Well, Anthony, man, I got to tell you, this was fun for me. I feel so lucky that this is what I get to do for a living, or at least part of it, right? And it's just so awesome getting your take and your insights and your experience and how you feel about all these questions I asked you today. Thank you so much uh, for your willingness to come on and have a chat with me and let my audience know a little bit more about yourself and giving some great insights as well.
Well, I love talking to you, Mark. So every time I run into you at a conference, we have a great 20-minute conversation. So this has been uh, excellent.
Well, thank you. And all this has been the 13th episode of Align Health Insights with Anthony Manson, Chief Digital Officer at Healio. Anthony, thanks again. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.